Hello, everybody. Welcome to the fifth day of this incredible, energized Awakening Summit. So happy that you are here. And I am so grateful to be speaking with Sandra Suarez Dominquez. She is just like a powerhouse. So welcome, Sandra.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this beautiful space. You hold such really gorgeous space. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is going to be a great conversation. So let me give a quick intro on Sandra, and then we will dive right in. So Sandra is the creator of Luminous Inner Wisdom, and it's all about activating the gateway to your soul. She is a certified intuitive coach, Akashic Records practitioner, Akashic clearing practitioner, and so much more. I could spend the whole half hour talking about it. She is a mother of two beautiful girls. She is a domestic violence survivor, ovarian cancer survivor, and overall badass spiritual healer.
Yes, owning that.
Woo! Badass. So in your chapter we talked before, and it's just a really strong connection. But what I love how you started off in your chapter right away, you said, why are soul journeys important, and what can they provide for you? And also, what the heck in the world is one, and why would I even want one?
Yes.
So if we could maybe start there, and you could.
Yeah. Well, soul journeys are really, really important because you really receive so much going through that. It really allows you to tap into what is really happening, what really did transpire, and it allows you to be able to really connect with your intuition, your inner child, whoever it is that needs to come through during this journey, so that we can then receive exactly what we need to receive. Because our soul, right, is thousands of years old, and people think that, we're human beings having a spiritual experience, when in reality we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And as we move through this world, we sometimes create these agreements or cords or attachments unconsciously. Sure, a lot of them we are aware of, but there are so many that we are not aware of, and we're carrying them over and over and over. And so in a soul journey, you're able to really see, what is that unconscious agreement that you created? What is the story there? What is it that you're being asked to maybe acknowledge or release or let go? We hold on to so many things, but the gift is in the healing. It is our responsibility to heal ourselves. And if we're not going to do it, then we're just spewing it on other people. So, yeah, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, and so I love to teach my clients, like, don't take everything that someone's saying to you as your truth, because it's not. What they're simply showing to you is their own self-limiting beliefs and judgments. It's not about you. It's never about you. It's never about you, unless you start to notice something within yourself where you're like, oh, wait, but I felt that. And that's when you want to go in and take yourself on a soul journey and say, okay, well, where did that come from? Right? But never take anything that does not belong to you. You set the tone. You decide. Just because they're throwing it at you doesn't mean you need to catch it. It's like, slide that to the side.
So then I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
One, directly in that. So if something is triggering you, is it triggering you because it's within you?
Sometimes there is a pattern that could be within you that you need to figure out. Okay, well, if I'm feeling it within myself, okay, now I need to figure out why that's present. And when going within, right, taking yourself on a soul journey to see what that is, then you can feel the truth, right? So for me, I'm going to use myself, right? When I had COVID, my left lung was killing me. It was killing me so much. In my meditation, I was like, I really can't breathe. This is killing me. It's just one lung. I was like, it's just like one side. What's going on? And God was like, you need to go in and get to the root of that. And the root was, when I took myself on a soul journey, was that my little 2-year-old self still hasn't forgiven my biological father for abandoning me. And so I had to take myself through this process of connecting to my inner child, seeing my father, learning the truth of what happened because I've been carrying that abandonment through all areas of my life and in every relationship of my life. So when I was able to go in there and connect and heal and honor that and really let that go, I started creating the process of honoring the wounded masculine within myself. Like now I'm in a space where I can say my biological father without making a face or being angry about it. There's like no triggers to it, but it's in honoring his choices and his gift to me so that I can heal that for myself, because people,
go ahead.
so people come into our lives to teach us. Everyone is teaching us or giving us something that we need in order to be able to move through life. And so my father was that teacher to heal that wounded masculine within myself. And so it's like, it's time for you to let that story go.
Wow. So when you were feeling it in your left lung, were you feeling it there because of the COVID, or were you feeling it there because...
The manifestation of dis-ease is always disease, right? So if I have a disease within my lung, then there's something within the disease, this dis-ease within that disease. So when I went in, because my lung was collapsing, I was like, that's so weird because it's just one side. You would think it would be both, but it was just that one. And I was like, and because when I connected to God in my meditation, it was like, he was like, no, there's a story there. You got to go in, which is why it's so important to trust your intuition. Your intuition will always guide you, and your connections to, to God, source, universe, however you want to connect and who you want to connect with and who do you allow to come in, they always have a reason for you to do things. And so when God always has jokes, so I laugh because for me, God is just, for me, I love my relationship with God. We crack up all the time, but he's always doing this. Like, that's why I mentioned it in my book, because it was like, wow, you got jokes. Like, he's like, no, I want to make sure that you're over that. Like, did you heal that? Did you really? Let me see. And then he just sends these little like things to you because it's like, it's a gift to you. It's like, I want to see, did you heal it? Did you? Really? I'm like, really?
The way you say it cracks me up. It's true. It's like testing you. Yes. Test 1, 2, 3. You test 1, 2, 3.
No, he consistently does it. Okay, so here's another story. I'm writing a book called God Has Jokes. And here's the thing that he does, right? So I'm on the highway. Now, you're in the highway and you see the traffic and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm already late for work. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be late for work. And I'm like, I'm going to take off. I'm going to get off here. I'm going to take the service road and I'm just going to get there so I can make it on time. I kid you not. I'm going around in circles. I was like, okay. I stop and I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous now. This is really ridiculous. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I hear him. He's like, just get back on the highway. And I'm like, I trust you. Okay, I'm going to get back on the highway. I get back on the highway and I see the traffic. I kid you not. 60 seconds later,
cleared up.
No traffic. And I laughed because I was like, oh, you got jokes. He's like, you see, just because you think you see the traffic doesn't mean that there really is traffic. Just sit there and wait and move through it because the paths open up for you when you do. So that's what I was, really, you got jokes? Really? Thanks. Beautiful lesson. Thank you. Thank you for this lesson. And so,
were you late or were you on time?
And I made it on time, which was even more insane because I was like going around in circles for 10 minutes. But that's how he works, And I mentioned that in the book too, like in my chapter, how he brings things to you so that you can move through it. These things that repeat over and over and over and over and over, and you're like, oh, different people, same situation, same situation, same people, whatever. That's the thing you need to look at because that's his way of saying, you see this thing here, like the third time we're going through it, I need you to work on this. But most people don't get that. So what they say is, oh my God, life is just driving me crazy. Here we go again. Step back from that. Like, just step back. Step back and be like, okay, what is it that I'm not looking at? And what exactly am I supposed to be receiving from this entire thing? And go from there.
Right.
Everything starts with you. Everything.
So then, two things. So just to get to the idea of the soul journey. So just to clarify, is the soul journey an actual meditation?
Well, it's me guiding you into your intuition. So I take you through this, almost, you would say almost like a meditation. I'm guiding you through it. And we're going through this journey. Now, what I love about these journeys is that as we're going through it, I can see what you're seeing in some extent, right? And as you're connecting to your higher self, I'm also connected to your higher self. And so what I love about the higher self is like, what I've noticed about the higher self when I work is that your higher self will rat you out. So if you're not doing stuff or you're doing stuff but you don't want to tell me, she'll tell me, which I love, because then I'll be like, oh, well, you know, what I'm hearing from your higher self is that she said that whatever. And then they start cracking up because they're like, and I love that. I love that. And so what we do is I'll take you through that, you know, really going through specific modalities to get to the truth of what's coming up for you. But your higher self is the person who we always connect to, because your higher self knows why you're here. All right. That's your spiritual self, your divine self. That person, she already knows. She lives within you, but we kind of like shut her off. So that's why I call her the goddess, right? Because she's your goddess within, especially for us women who are not really connected fully, or we don't allow her to. And sometimes the word goddess throws them off because it's like, I don't get that. I'm like, excuse me, do you know how powerful you are? Do you know how amazing you are? Do you know that you can manifest things like that if you wanted to? Do you know that you're a badass? Like, yeah, you're a goddess. You, right in here, in this body, this moment.
Yeah, we so don't like see that within ourselves, but I know we're just gonna like, I don't want to run out of time without missing your story. So I love the part of how you talk about, you know, childhood and how you started to notice things about yourselves and how you were shut down.
Yeah.
But you didn't allow that to be. You like were kind of like, nope. Your goddess was like, not happening. Like, this is, so if you could share with everybody your story, that'd be incredible.
Yeah. So growing up, you know, we were taught not to connect with spirit and that it would be bad and that not to do it. But I noticed like every time I would still hear things or see things, and it would like, I'd dream things and they'd happen in real life. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like, what? And
How old? Give us a context of age.
It happened when I was like 5, when I was like 8. It would like be like in variations, like teenager, especially in the teenage stage. I received a lot of confirmations, and it would just be like so weird. And as I got older, like in my 20s, that's when it was really like amplified. And then there was a time where I created all these things, and I was like, I feel so off. I feel lost. I feel like I don't belong here. There was like this longing, like I really feel like I don't belong here. I don't even know how I got into this family, but I don't even think I belong to this family, because I was the oddball out. I wouldn't behave or act the same. It was just like so weird. It was like, am I related to people in this family? Because it was just so off. And then as I kept growing up, as I got older, I started noticing that I can feel everybody's emotions. And so it would become very overwhelming, but I didn't know what it was. And so I would feel things excessively. I would hear things. There's this one experience that really threw me off. Like I watched something on TV about a death that happened. And then all of a sudden I saw the death, like that soul took me through the entire process of what happened, how she died, what transpired, what happened after that. And I would just cry for 2 weeks crying. I didn't know. And then all of a sudden on the news, they were now showing what happened. And it was the same thing that I saw. And I was just like freaking out. I was like, oh my God, it's just so crazy. How did that happen? But wow. I still couldn't figure it out. And then when that thing in that store happened, where I was in that store and I was buying material and talking to the young girl, it felt great. Her vibe was awesome. And then that young man came, and it was like my entire insides were like shaking. I literally felt like this, but I'm standing there like this, but my insides are doing this. And I'm like, okay, is it me? Is something going on? And I was just like trying to figure it out. But I noticed that as I leaned closer to him, the more it would happen. And I was like, oh, I got to get out of here. And when I stepped out, it was like, okay, now is the time for you to dive deeper. It
So
was
this
like,
was in your 20s.
yeah, in my mid to late 30s.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah,
So that's
because
a long time.
yeah, because it's so ingrained, because I had issues too that I didn't heal. So that's the thing, if you're not going to heal your stories, and I didn't even know that I had to heal my stories, right? So if it wasn't until I heard that I said to God, okay, you know what? Just send me all the people that you need for me to be with, to work with, or the things that you want me to do so that I can go ahead and do what it is that you want me to do. And I connected to my mentor. One of my mentors is Caitlin Egger, who took me through my intuitive certification, which is crazy because I was like, what is this? He's like, just take it. I want you to take it. I promise you it'll make sense. Everything fell into in alignment, even though I was scared out of my mind because it's my first time doing it. But in that story is when I realized that healing my relationship with God, healing my relationship to myself, the reason why all of these things were happening came to light. Connecting with my grandmother's soul was a gift to me because she walks with me and she continuously shows up in all things for me. And that's when I was like, I heard it. It's like, this is why you're here. Now it's your turn to teach others how to do it too. And what I learned is the more I healed myself, the more I healed my stories, the more I did the work for myself, the more my intuition would amplify, the more my gifts became more apparent. The stronger they became, the bigger my container was able to become to hold space for other people. And so in doing so, I've learned that, I don't need to judge people. That's not my job. So I don't do that because that's not my thing. I'm here to be able to hold a container. Then my container has to be a container filled with unconditional love and free judgment. Because then if I don't do that, then you and I cannot go where we need to go. And so it takes a lot for you to be able to take someone to their truth, to really hold that container and take them deeper into the soul work that needs to be done. Those stories that we hold with the chains and the borders that we don't want to look at anymore. I break them down so that we can heal those. You can own every aspect of yourself and share that in the world in the most beautiful way, because we're needed. We're so needed. And someone's praying for you, like, to come into the world and share who you are.
Yeah.
So soul journeys are so necessary. Our soul work is so necessary. The shadow work is so necessary so that we can just show up and owning that, like really owning that. Like other people's opinions of you have nothing to do with you. Never ever.
So when you say shadow work, what do you mean by shadow work?
So shadow work are those stories, right, that I was telling you about, the ones that we're hiding, the ones that we don't want to look at, the ones that we have shame.
Hiding in the shadow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the shadow, right? But sometimes you realize that what you're hiding there is nothing for you to really put in there. It's just that you felt that you needed to put that there because someone taught you to be embarrassed of that story, to have shame in that story. I share my stories and I have so many stories. But if I was like, every time I talk about a specific part of my story, people are like, oh my God. You're like, yeah, because my soul had to go through all of that. Now I know why my soul is such a badass. Because if I sit here and I say, these are all the things I went through, you'd be like, how are you still here insane? I'm like, this is one strong soul.
Many lifetimes, strong soul.
Strong soul. Own this, baby. Yeah, but you know what? It's like, they're my stories. They're my experiences. I own them. I'm far from perfect. I never want to be perfect. I never want to be associated with the word normal or perfect because, oof, I'm far from that. And I own that. I own that I am not, and I never will ever strive to be. I did the conforming part. I did the people-pleasing part. I did the overwhelm. No, I'm not going there. I've healed those stories. I honor those stories. And I don't want to go back there, but I love that person. I love that person because she was brave enough to go through all of that to bring me here to this present time. So I own that story. I love her, that part of myself, and say, you know what? I think you're awesome. And, you know, it's okay that we made all those things happen. But you're still badass.
Right. Right.
And let's go do what we need to do.
Right.
So,
Let's do this. So
yeah.
actually, so since you mentioned it, so I'm curious. So ovarian cancer, did you have like traditional medication in the healing process, or was so much
Well,
of it?
here's the story. So when I was pregnant, they were like, no, I couldn't have a second child. Right? So they were like, okay, we're going to do some fertility, we'll do some work. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh no, you're pregnant. And I'm like, what? No, I can't be. And they're like, yeah, but it looks like it's ectopic. It looks like, you know, we may have to go in there and take it out. So I went into surgery for an ectopic pregnancy. I wake up to find like members of my family that I would never think in the hospital are in the hospital. And they're like, oh, it's going to be fine. Everything's good. And I'm like, okay. My doctor like makes everybody leave. And he's like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm good. He's like, no, so I did the surgery, we took out the mass. It was a 15-centimeter mass. You know, you had a little cancer. And I was like, wait, what? And all I heard was cancer. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, but I took it out, and not to worry. You know, we're gonna send it out, and so on and so forth. Long story short, 2 weeks later, I'm still sick. I'm sick like a dog. I'm dying. I was like, I couldn't stop throwing up. And between the throwing up and the surgery, I was in so much pain. I go back to the hospital and they're like, your lab work shows you're still pregnant. Let's do an ultrasound. My doctor's like, no, this area looks good. This area looks good. He's like, oh, you're still pregnant. Okay, pregnant with my second daughter, who was hiding in the fundus of the uterus because she didn't want to be seen. So I couldn't be treated, nothing could be done. So imagine. And then, of course, she came early. Like 6 months later, I had her. Healthy, premature, healthy. Nothing is wrong with her. Okay, she came into the world in her own way, which was exactly like her older sister. They both showed up the same way. 2 weeks early, they died. Like, it was really like I dilated 4 weeks early. They waited 2 weeks. 2 weeks, boom, they both showed up. I was like, they're both exactly 4 weeks early each. I'm like, you guys are crazy. But that's how God has jokes, right? Because it was like, trust me, I got you. Because I thought I was going to die. I was never going to be able to have another child. But then I survived. I had another child, and I made it all into the other end. And my doctor's like, you're a miracle. I don't even know how all of this transpired, but there you go. And God's so good to me. My OBGYN showed up at every appointment for me. What doctor does that? He would call me on a Sunday. How are you doing? Everything good? I'm like, I'm good. Thank you so much. So I received so much from that, you know, and it was like, that had to go because there was so much for me to let release. So much trauma, so much hatred, and I've had a lot of stuff, you know, like the abuse, the rape, all of that, just living within my womb space, and that had to go so that I can create space and create healing within my womb. And so here we go, these two babies who showed up in the world in their own way. Of course it's a gift. Course it's a gift. And since then till now, it's like, oh, amplify, here you go. And it's like that. It was like more, receiving more in so many different ways. So, you know, for me, it was like a beautiful gift, beautiful journey.
Woo. I'm just breathing. I'm like,
I know, it's like, and yet I look at it and I'm like, wow, that person, thank you. It's like, it's just crazy. My life is just crazy. But I love every I've learned to love every aspect, because when I tap into every part of myself, I realized that there was something there that I needed to receive or heal, not only for myself, but for my ancestors. And I'm paving the way for myself, for my daughters, my great-granddaughters, my great-daughters, all the women in the world, so that we can heal and raise and create this beautiful space for us to be who we are in a way that feels so good to us. Yeah. Owning every aspect of ourselves.
Own every aspect of ourselves. So important. So can you please tell us how people can connect with you and what your offer is?
Yeah. So I do have a 5-day freebie, which allows you to really connect and amplify your superpower. So like really getting to know which of your intuitive gifts is the one that speaks most to you, the one that you use the most, you know, because you use it every day. You're just not aware that you're using it. And it's tapping into that particular part of your intuition to be able to co-create into the world. So it's a 5-day process. Every day you'll do something. It might be, there's a video, and I might be guiding you through something so that you can figure out which of those is amplified. I also created this awakening program, which is 3 sessions. One is a clarity session to really dive in to see exactly what is it that we need to look at, what is it that your soul wants you to look at right now and in this moment. And then the 2 soul journeys, where we're going to go through there and really learn what it is and removing it, right, from this timeline, past lifetimes, future, like doing also like an Akashic clearing to that, so that we are removing that, because sometimes that's there and you're bringing it from the past into this future, to this moment, to this present moment, because your soul wants you to heal it. And so we may see what is that. So it depends on what we find in your clarity session, what we go through in your soul journey, and then at the end we're just clearing it all up and infusing new energies to come in so that you can move fully and authentically into the world, into your truth. You can reach me through PM or my website, www.luminusinnerwisdom.com. Friend request me, Instagram. Yeah.
So Sandra, you're going to put all that information, when this is done, you'll put all that information into the thread so people can find you really easily.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be a great, just like easy 1, 2, 3, boom, and whoo, you are a powerhouse.
Thank
the energy
you.
is just like,
oh my gosh, I want everyone to feel their own power. We all have this power within us, and I want everyone to like tap in, bring it out, like share it, be yourself, be whoever it is you need to be, so that you can show everybody else how to do it. Pave the way. It's time for us to stop playing small. The old paradigm is gone. The patriarchy is missing. It's time for the matriarchy. It's time for us to step in. It's time for us to own it and share it.
Perfect way to wrap it up. And yeah, it is. It's time. And especially with everything that's going on, which is so much about connection and awakening, literally.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So everybody pave the way. And Sandra, thank you so much for all that you do and all that you offer out to the world. And happy Friday the 13th, everybody.
Yes. Happy Friday the 13th. Thank you so much.
Powerful. We didn't see your black cat, Sandra.
I know, right? She was just here. She's my familiar.
She was showing up before, and then all of a sudden she decided to disappear.
Yeah.
So everybody, have an incredible rest of the day. Enjoy the rest of the summit, and wishing you well. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.